Welcome back everyone, it's me Matt, appreciate you stopping by on the video today. Before we dive into today's topic, I want you to scroll down and hit the comments. What's your favourite modern main battle tank and why? It's nice to know which one it is, but I'd like to see also your inputs as to why it is. It's always interesting to understand what my community has in their own fascination to vehicles, whether it's the Leopard 2A7, maybe the T90, maybe the M1A2 SEP, the Leclerc, but today we're focusing on the K2 Black Panther. And I've got a bit of a soft spot for this one, because when we're talking about next-gen tank design, agile procurement, and countries actually taking defense seriously, I'd say this is the placeholder for it. And Poland has just placed a second order for the K2 Black Panther main battle tank, locking in another 180 units from Hyundai Rotem in South Korea. This isn't just a follow-up order, it's part of a massive $6.5 billion acquisition spree, just saying it makes me laugh, of what Poland's calling their, quote, armor week. And I have to say, I'm all in on this, because the K2 isn't just a competent machine, it's actually one of my personal favourites. Let's get into why. Now, Poland isn't just buying tanks, it's actually rebuilding its entire armoured and artillery force from the ground up, something that I think many nations need to benchmark from, but it's just not quite as simple as that with the economy, social and economic setting that's going on around the world. You can't just spend $6.5 billion and just be like, okay, that's cool. Poland does have that luxury though, because they're in a very different environment to what many of us here in the West are. With this second contract of 180 additional K2 tanks, the total commitment is now pushing well past 360 units, and the long-term plan of up to 1,000 tanks, including a locally built version of the K2PL. What makes this second deal significant is that Poland is doubling down after already receiving and field testing the initial units. And that speaks volumes. These are not theoretical platforms or tanks. They've been put through their paces by Poland and obviously by South Korea, and clearly Poland is very satisfied with what they're getting. But it doesn't just stop at tanks. Armor Week, quote, it also includes things like the K9 Thunder self-propelled howitzers, which I've just done a video on and is one of my favourite SPGs, the FA-50 light fighters for air power reinforcement, and the K239 Chunmoo rocket artillery system for deep strike capability. This isn't just upgrade, folks, this is actually kind of a total transformation for Poland, and they are really capitalizing on that, South Korean infrastructure. And as you can see, other nations in the footage here are also looking at purchasing their own K2 Black Panthers, but let's zoom in on it a little bit. First off, this is a true 4th generation MBT, and it shows. The K2 brings a level of sophistication and versatility that rivals and even surpasses, I would say, personally, many NATO standard tanks in service today, and I have to say, it would probably kick Challenger 3's ass. I'm sorry, but it would. It's a totally different platform that is very good at doing what tanks are meant to do, which is being a bruiser. And of course, I'm always going to love Challenger and its basic premise, but it is an old structural platform being upgraded, whereas the K2 is basically from the ground up kind of design. And here's what makes it so damn good. The 120mm L55 smoothbore cannon with autoloader with extremely good accuracy, active and passive protection systems already integrated, including a hard kill option that is basically integral to the platform. It wasn't add-on, it wasn't expansion, it was already predefined for the tank. From the research I've done, it has the best tank engine that exists on the planet. A 1500 horsepower diesel engine delivering extremely powerful torque, speed and agility. And I've heard from many who have researched the K2 Black Panther that its power plant is the best in the world. It is very good at going up steep inclines with its gearbox because, of course, in a Korean setting, you want something that can go into mountainous regions, and the K2 Black Panther can do that with every level of power that it needs. It does have a very good hydromatic suspension system that adjusts on the move, that can also actually squat the vehicle down in a hull down position, and a lot of people don't think that's a big deal, but an extra 1.5 feet of distance makes a big difference on the battlefield, particularly if you're in a defensive configuration, of which Poland or probably South Korea would be if it came to putting these vehicles to battle. And it can kneel forward to depress its gun for those hull down positions, lean sideways and engage in sloped terrain, and even raise that height to cross deep water. It is not just high tech for the sake of it, it's been designed to have extreme tactical flexibility baked into its overall design, not just an expansion. And it's been proven, it's ready, and it's backed by a very powerful industrial partner willing to share and mass produce this tech. Now, this is where I think a lot of people don't give South Korea enough credit. Let's be real. For decades, defense innovation has been dominated by the United States, Europe, and of course Russia. China is obviously driving very heavily in the background, but it's really hard to get a lot of key information on Chinese equipment, so I tend to not do a lot of discussion on there. But in recent years, South Korea has emerged as a powerhouse in global defense scenes. It's not just copying what others do either. I would say they really are trying to innovate. I will say that the K1 certainly is a bit of a copy, of course, from the Abrams, and maybe a lot of you are going to say that the K2 is very similar, but I would disagree. The K2 is somewhat of its own design, its own premise. You know, it's been built from the ground up. Look at the K9 Thunder, a beast of an artillery system that has seen export across Europe, Asia, and now Poland. It's reliable, it's accurate, and designed with the modern warfighting in mind. Same with the Chunmoo MLRS, versatile, modular rocket system that gives Poland a scalable deep-fire solution. Korea's defense manufacturers are very good at delivering high-end equipment quickly, offering technology transfer and local production in the nation that is going to use the equipment, and creating the platforms that are modular, affordable, and interoperable, meaning that if you want to change something, they're not against that. They'll be all over trying to make it modular so that you can put your own bits and pieces on there and produce it in your own country. In my opinion, those 3 points are the holy trinity of modern procurement. If you have a company and a platform and a design that can follow those principles, you're onto a winner. And unfortunately, in the Western world, we're really struggling with that right now. There's lots of variables as to why that's happening. And honestly, I have a ton of respect for what Hyundai Rotem and Hanwha and other Korean defense players are doing. They're pushing boundaries, trying different configurations, new ways of doing things, and showing the world that the defense innovation isn't just for the usual suspects anymore. And I'll tell you this much, it's showing. I honestly think some of the big defense manufacturers out there are really starting to shake their heads a little bit and saying, what are we doing wrong here? Poland is spending $6.5 billion on a new main battle tank, and it's coming from an Asian country that isn't really normally renowned for making main battle tanks of Western nations, and I really respect that they're able to do that. So what does this all mean for Poland? Well, for starters, they're not just spending money. They're not just throwing money at things, which a lot of people I think believe Poland is doing. They're looking at options and buying the ones that they know are tailored specifically for what they need. And they're building a force that's capable of independent operations, can integrate with NATO's strategic depth because other nations are looking at using these kind of platforms, particularly things like the K9 Thunder, and logistically self-sufficient over time. This is so important. If you cannot produce these in mass and support them logistically, whether it be through the supply chain, through parts, hardware, training, whatever it may be, you're in a really bad shape for trying to keep a main battle tank fleet going, particularly the other side of the planet. The K2PL, once produced locally, will reduce dependency on foreign support chains, and Poland's also investing in simulators, training infrastructure, spare parts, munitions in tandem. This isn't some half-baked rearmament. They are going all in. It's really a national strategy for deterrence in a main battle tank fleet. Let's not also forget Poland shares borders with Belarus and sits right on NATO's eastern flank. With the war in Ukraine grinding on, they know time is not a luxury. And South Korea can produce these platforms quickly. The K2, along with the K9 and the Chunmoo, gives the lethal and mobile force that can respond quickly and win if pushed. And if they don't win, well, they can be resupplied fairly fast through the defense procurement network and the logistics supply chain that are being produced for all these tanks. So here's my overall take on this. Poland's move to double down on the K2 Black Panther shows vision and the tenacity that they're not just shopping around. They are building a true armoured force, and I don't care what you're saying about the drone fleets and drones against tanks. The rhetoric of that is really beyond me. I don't follow it anymore. This is truly an armoured force that's going to be something to be reckoned with. I would say probably one of the best in the world once it comes to full fruition of that 1,000 tanks. This is an armoured force that is going to be reckoned with, and I have a lot of respect for Poland for doing so. It's going to be really exciting in the next 10 years or so, seeing what is Poland's overall armoured force. And honestly, the K2 is certainly one of my favourite tanks in the world. It performs very well. Its design, its capability, the packages it has on it speaks for itself. And to add to that, Korea's willingness to innovate and adapt, you've got a defense partner that should be watching very closely around the world for more customers, because I'll tell you, they're going to be knocking on their door in the next 5 to 10 years with what's going on. This second order, to me, sends a message. Poland isn't just preparing for tomorrow, it's preparing to lead in the armoured procurement world. I have to admit, there's a lot of programs going on right now that are not at the success rate of what these kind of tanks are doing, and it's eye-opening, in all honesty. But what do you think? Is the K2 Black Panther a smart investment? Do you even think it's a good tank? Should more NATO countries be looking to Korea for their next-gen platforms? Drop your thoughts in the comment section below, and hey, if you enjoy content like this, please do me a solid, fire me that like button, hit subscribe, and if you want to, share the video with your fellow military tech nerds like us. Folks, thanks so much for joining me. If you are a Patreon supporter or been financially supporting my channel, I cannot thank you enough. I give a huge respectful nod to you all, and of course, to the K2 Black Panther. See you in the next one, folks. Bye-bye.